Welcome to your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 689. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing your book but you could use some help getting it done, you are in the right place. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 19 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they can turn someone who doesn't even really kind of maybe see themselves as an author into one. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. Here's today's quote. In a moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing to do. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. Theodore Roosevelt. And once again, good morning, everyone. I have a question for you. What do you do after missing your word count targets, whatever targets you've set for yourself while writing your book, for several days in a row, or maybe even more than several days in a row? I have some things that you can do in this situation. Happens to all of us, happens to the best authors on the planet. Not everybody is a machine. Most people are not, including authors. So sometimes we fall off track. Here are some ways to get back on track with your word count targets. The first one, grace. Yes, that's right. First, give yourself some grace. We are writers, artists, creators. As I was just saying, we're not automated robot arms on the industrial manufacturing line screwing caps onto pill bottles. Writing is a combination of mind, heart, body, and soul. So give yourself a break. As committed as we all are to our goals, our why behind our book, and as much as we practice our habits, sometimes writing days just don't happen. And word count targets start piling up like dirty laundry in a hamper. You're not a bad author. You're a human being. Give yourself some grace. The next thing to do, self-awareness and a path back. The key during these times is to keep your self-awareness up. Even as you're circling the writing cave, we've all done it, saying, I should be writing, trying to find a way back inside the cave. Acknowledge whatever life circumstances are keeping you from writing, monitor those circumstances, and then as much as possible, create a pathway back from them into the writing cave when it's time. So it might look something like this. Okay, because of this thing happening in my life, I know realistically I'm not going to be able to write for the first half of this week or not hit my word count. I accept that. But on Thursday, I see 2 hours on my schedule that I can devote to getting back on track. So then what you'll do is you'll schedule those 2 hours. You'll immediately put those on your calendar for writing. Now, this is a healthier way of dealing with the delay than mentally fighting against whatever's happening in your life on Monday. And then you're fighting with yourself on Tuesday, and then you're feeling really bad about yourself on Wednesday, and you're just surrounding yourself in guilt. Yeah, I can say words. So it's emotionally exhausting to do that. So by the time you reach Thursday in that scenario, you're too exhausted to actually go in your writing cave for those 2 hours and work. So you throw in the towel and you give up on the whole week. That's not as good of a strategy as just if you realize that if you're looking at the beginning of your week and you're saying, this is not going to happen on Thursday, that's fine. Accept it. Don't beat yourself up. Put a plan in place for Thursday. So if you do have to stray from the writing cave, do it with intention, self-awareness, and a plan to come back. The next one is find an excuse to get back at it. If you're already at that place right now, maybe maybe today is your emotionally exhausted Thursday because you've been beating yourself up for the whole first half of the week about missing your word counts, whatever. But now maybe whatever life distraction has actually passed, or maybe it's almost past, but you're feeling too overwhelmed and too guilty to get back on track. How about using this episode today as your cue to write? Use my message to you right here and now as an excuse to get back at it. You've got this. We all fall off track. We are writers. It's complicated. It's fine. There's always a road back to where you were. Find a part of your book that excites you right now. Think about it right now, even if it's out of order. And when you're done listening to this, schedule your writing session later today. One of those things, either now or, if you need to schedule it for later, tap into that excitement and dive back in. Use whatever excuse you can dig up here and now to spark those writing juices. They're still there. Those writing juices didn't go away. If you miss your word count for a few days, a few weeks, whatever, your why, the reason that you're writing your book, it still exists. You just need to kind of give it a little kickstart, like a battery, like jumpstart a battery. So the next one is avoid the editing critic. This is very important. When you're getting back on track, avoid the inner editing critic. I recommend that for your first writing cave, when you're getting back on track, you avoid reading what you wrote last, unless it is absolutely necessary for you to do that to get back into flow. One thing we don't want is for your inner editing critic to give you even more reasons to flee the writing cave for a few more days or weeks or worse. Find a way to dive back in with a positive mindset, even if you have to fool yourself, even if you just have to totally brainwash yourself. Everything's going fine. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're the next freaking Hemingway. Keep going. Then once you're back in the swing of things, then you can go back and edit and review what you've written and things like that you did before the break. But when you're first trying to get back in, maybe don't start reading stuff because you might give yourself a reason to feel bad and maybe stop continuing forward. Remember, a first draft is supposed to be you know what. The next one, habits. Hey, shocking, right? Remember those habits. Schedule your writing. Piggyback it to a like-minded habit at a time of day when you've usually been successful at writing. Acknowledge every writing session as a quote-unquote vote toward rebuilding your writing habit. All those great habits that I personally learned about and they were reinforced in that awesome book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. So just remember all that great habit intel, especially it's very important when you're trying to get back on track with your word count targets, when you're trying to get back to the writing cave, kind of maybe do a quick review of everything you know about habits. That's where this is important in moments like this. So do what has been working habits-wise. When you're trying to get back on track, this is not the time to start experimenting with new ones. Do what's been working, know what you know, remember what you know, review what you know about habits, and go with what has already been successful. And finally, make sure you connect with your author community. It's very important in these scenarios to remember that there are a lot of authors who have fallen off their word count targets and they're feeling bad about themselves and beating themselves up. All the kind of self-sabotage that we do, we're not alone ever. That's why I have my group, Inc. Authors, on Facebook, to remind ourselves that we're not alone so that you can reach out and say, guys, this is what I'm experiencing. Anybody else experiencing it? And like 50 people will raise their hands. Inc. Authors on Facebook. That's why I put the link in the show notes every day. So I hope these strategies get you back on track with your word count targets. And as always, thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Until tomorrow, happy writing.